Hey guys, Fire here, and thanks for joining me today as I review Lost Chico 2. This game is developed by 909 Games, published by Weakfish Studio, and is currently available in the Xbox Store for a price starting at $5, and is on sale at the time of recording this, so you can still save a little bit of money. So, what is Lost Chico 2? It's kind of like a puzzler platformer, where you get to play as a flying chicken, trying to kind of platform around. Now, I will say if you do get the game based off this review or anytime within the recent launch of it, there are a little bit of bugs, so only talk to the first couple characters in the game, otherwise your game will crash, and you can't really buy anything from the market, but I will give kudos to Weakfish Studios. They're already addressing concerns in the Xbox Store with gamers, and also working diligently to fix those problems. With that being said, let's talk a little bit about the game. Visually, it's a nice little aesthetic platforming game that, looks like an old school aesthetic platforming game. Visually, it's not bad. I like the art style, although the sound design for me is kind of a little bland and then gets a little repetitive and kind of lackluster as you continue playing for further in the game. I like that while you go around and get introduced to new mechanics and new things, they're quickly become a little bit repetitive in nature with the things that you get to introduce. You'll get to learn some different abilities as you go, but those abilities come at a rather slow pace, and the level kind of design introduces like some new things over time. It's a slow pace, but almost comes at a slower pace than you probably really want. It's not a... I don't know. Let's move on to controls. Control-wise, it's pretty simplistic. You basically hit A to jump, right trigger to glide, and move throughout the level. There are different interactive things, such as flying platforms and different things that you'll kind of get to experience, but then some things that don't really make sense, like I didn't know chickens could breathe underwater for an extended amount of time. The game does an okay job with kind of adapting things as you play and kind of making it easier and then getting more challenging along the way, but it's constantly just one of those rinse and repeat kind of nostalgic kind of goes at the game that kind of leave you wanting more but getting delivered with a lot less. Some of the levels get really clunky and get a little confusing to kind of navigate, although that's kind of, I guess, built to the level design. But it's still kind of frustrating when you're spending all your time and effort trying to achieve one way to do things just to be introduced with a totally off-branded mechanic that kind of just gets a little confusing along the way, and then things that don't really make sense at times on some of the levels. Don't get me wrong, it's a really decent little platforming game, but it just kind of gets a little easily forgotten as you continue to play, because there's just things that aren't being introduced at decent rates, or it's kind of taught to you in a way that kind of just becomes a little unforgiving, or not unforgiving, but forgettable, I guess is maybe the right way to word things while you're playing and kind of just exploring throughout the stages. Nothing really seems to make a lot of sense, and what you do get to experience while you are playing just gets lackluster and boring quicker than it probably should. I think the kind of honeymoon aspect of this game kind of gets short-lived when it just kind of becomes a little more mundane and slower than what you probably want the game to be, and there's no real enemies or anything brought into the game. I think if there were some things that I needed to avoid, or maybe just some things to jump on, maybe add some eggs I had to collect every level or something like that, it would just add a little more to this game. Granted, it's only $5, but it kind of leaves me wishing there's a little more. Don't get me wrong, there's 50 levels to explore throughout the game, but it kind of just starts off at such a slow pace with things, and just, I think the sound design is maybe not as energetic as I would hope for it to have been. Like, the jumping and all those noises, great job there, but just the music kind of wants to put me to sleep, and kind of, there you go. Outside of that, guys, I'd love to know what you think of my review down below in the comments. As always, I appreciate hanging out. Thanks for checking out my channel, and I hope to see you again soon.